Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are placed in this time-space continuum. Thank you for being present with us now. I'd like to introduce a really important guest today, a multidimensional being who has perfected the stance of moving inside of energy and sharing that with his collective audience, his community, and the people he loves. Please allow us to introduce Daniel Kingston. Thanks for joining us today.
Hi guys, thank you very much for the invite and the time.
Hey Daniel, pleasure to meet you.
It is a
Daniel,
pleasure.
this is my co-host, Tyler Gooderham. Today we have hand-selected some intuitive questions to get that spice of yours out there so people can really learn about who Daniel Kingston is from Brisbane City. So before I begin, I would just like to run the battlefield and declare who you are.
No worries.
With 9 years of defense force experience, brought forward into business, plus 26 years spanned across voluntary services, acquiring and accruing experience, doubling up on discipline and connecting and working with people has created the advantage that has allowed you to create the senior leadership coach and entrepreneur lifestyle that you share now. Situational adaptation at the forefront and prospecting current skill sets and big decisions while weighing that before acting, providing strategic long-term and all positions for all people considered, never short-term.
Always long-term. North Star principle.
Balance is priority. Volunteering is high up there, but balance definitely precedes that, as I've learned. The foundation that you've built allows you to serve that community through that balance. Have I missed anything here today?
No, you've pretty well wound that up. All I can say is thank you very much. I absolutely loved jumping on and the opportunity to share what I do, how I get to it. So when you look at it, just looking at the intro, so 25 years plus, I'm just ticking in 27 years as volunteer. Good thing about volunteers, I've managed to learn the ins and outs of people dynamics, how to manage people from diverse backgrounds, how to put that into play and manage them not only in business, but in leadership and also personal development. Coming from military really taught me the tactical advantage, how to work as a teamwork, how to have the discipline, how to achieve a goal under any situation. And then moving through into law enforcement really gave me not only the tactical advantage there, but also the strategic communications needed. So bring all that into business, it was just a given, and obviously I've built from there.
What drove you into the position you're in now? Like, what was it about businesses that you wanted to attack? Like, why is this an attraction for you? Refining business.
Great question, and very good way. Probably the big thing with it is when you get caught in the mediocrity of just the way the system is. Being ADHD, I overthink everything. However, everything, even since a child, I always questioned the status quo. And when it got to a point where I went from business to business, I got sick of the way people doing, couldn't handle the way that people are so closed or very set in their mindset. Eventually, I broke in my first business. At that stage, was 13 years of age, was my first business. Started off mowing lawns, doing the odd jobs, worked through into customer service and worked my way up the ranks from there. The biggest thing is you've got the ability to design your life as you want it. You've got the ability to make the decision and the results are yours to own. The biggest thing when it comes to business is I control 99% of the factors around it. So it effectively gave me the control of my life and the freedom that I was after.
See, that's a really valuable thing to have discovered at such a young age. That's the one thing that a lot of people don't recognize is the ability to control the life that they're in. They feel oftentimes that they're like constrained to a life that their parents sort of dictated, you know, you must be this or you must be that, or this is all you're good for, or whatever. Society has driven them into a pigeonhole, as we call it in the States. And you found that this is not the case. You decided to make it your own and take control of your reality. I love that.
And definitely, you've got a lot of things that form the factors of how people develop their life. Everything from limiting beliefs. So the beliefs that hold you back are the ones that are stopping you from becoming what you want to become. So you look at what's called the age of imprintation, 0 to 7 years of age. You are basically in your mind part of your family, which is you and your parents. That's where you form a lot of generational trauma, and you take on the values and beliefs of your family. So that's where you get the scenario where everyone carries on from their parents. My parents have always done it that way. It's always been done that way. As soon as you break the barriers of those limiting beliefs, the world is your oyster. There is absolutely nothing you can't achieve.
Unconditional stance to adopt.
Oh, definitely. Growth mindset.
I can see how you arrived at that too, Daniel. I'd love to talk to you about this ADHD that you just jumped out with us.
Yeah. Welcome.
We all can relate to this. You're hanging out with two ADHD specialists right here. So my understanding of ADHD, just to bring that into your awareness now, is that we are dialed into higher dimensional frequencies. So we're just attuned and we're experiencing so much. And given that word, that big word we use, multidimensional, let's talk about that. Let's talk about how ADHD served you. How has it countered you? And how has it been positive for you? And where is the goalpost now in a day-to-day?
Great question. And when you look at the ADHD, as a child, they medicate children. They say, you don't do this. They put them in boxes. They constrain the ADHD from a very young age because people don't understand it. So people see it as a disability rather than a superpower. When you look at ADHD, the best way I can explain it to people who haven't got it is think of a roundabout. So here in Australia, we've got one roundabout and we've got 4 roads. That roundabout is your brain. And what you have is each of those roads is a way of absorbing information, whether it's through what you see, what you hear, what you think, each of those roads. Now you go to the big one in London, you've got like 8 roads leading in. You're looking at 8 different lanes that are coming into there as opposed to 2 from each of ours. If that's the flow of information, that's what ADHD does. It's that big roundabout that's sitting overseas with 8 lanes in every direction. Where the disadvantage to it is that not only do you absorb all that information, you've then got to sort that information in your head. So it's like here in Australia, like 2 little tiny lanes going around a roundabout. If you had 10 cars on that roundabout, it's now a traffic jam. You look at the one overseas, you're looking at 40 or 50 cars on there before it hits that same traffic jam. That there is a limit of some kind in your brain. The hardest part with ADHD is to be able to sort that information to get the relevant information out. So like looking at the big roundabout, it's only looking at the cars that are red. And then you go, okay, I'm looking at red cars today. You sort that information. That's the only information that you deal with at the time. Now, when you're looking at information flow, think of having a TED Talk. Most people in the world know the TED Talks, and you've got a speaker comes out onto that stage. What happens in the normal brain is they get that information that comes in, the speaker finishes, they leave the stage. ADHD doesn't do that. The person stays on the stage. So the next speaker comes up. Now you've got 2 people on stage, then the next person, next person. Now you have a basic overflow of information. The minute you get to the point that you accept that you have it and that you learn to sort that information, it becomes a superpower. You do a lot more, a lot faster, and a lot better than anyone else can. So very, very handy to have.
That's beautifully put. I love that.
Go ahead.
One of the things that I had to deal with, as a kid, having ADHD, there was no comprehension of that. And you were just not paying attention. You're not applying yourself. You're dumb. And of course, those belief systems from the teachers and the people around you kind of embed themselves deeply into your psyche. And that's who you believe you are until you realize that that's not the case. And that this is a thing. And like you said, once you start working with it, then it becomes a superpower. And one of the things that I did read about ADHD, which I have locked onto, is that the reason it's so difficult for those of us who have it, oftentimes to consume information or to read information is because we're looking at it from many dimensions all at once. We're trying to make sense of it 1,000 times in a second, rather than those that don't have it. They can just take the information and right into their brain. We're looking at it from every dimension possible to make it make sense, so we can get tired. But we know it deeply. So you locked on. Yeah. One
of the trainings actually I have is what's called the 6 dimensions of perspective. So the way to look at how perspective works is you take a round table and put 5 people around that table, and then sit so they're evenly spaced around that table. You put a apple in the center of that table. Question for you is, does every person at the table see the apple in the center and look at it the same way?
No, they do not.
No. So one person on one side looks at it and goes, I can see a green apple. Person on the other side goes, I can see a red apple. You look at someone else, they go, I can see a grub in it. Now, if we change that perspective from a horizontal to a vertical way of thinking, we now look at that and go, I can take that apple, take the seeds and grow an orchard to make 100 times what it is. The next person goes, I'm going to take it and make an apple pie and sell it for 10 times what it's worth. One person goes, I'm going to buy it for 5 cents and I'm going to sell it for 10 cents. I'm going to double its value. When you look at perspective, the biggest thing with that is personal development understanding. As soon as you understand how your head works, it now allows you to then put systems and processes into place to then really control the way that you allow your brain to move. Once you start to do that, very, very powerful in what can be achieved.
Very powerful word, very powerful wisdom, Daniel. And just to further on that, for our beautiful audience and the greater collective for this timeless stamp, procrastination, it does come up inside of ADHD. It's prevalent and it's present. So can you talk a little bit more on the procrastinative side of taking action and how that benefits you with the ADHD moving forward? Instead of just theorizing it and locking onto something, how can we take actionable steps forward with the ADHD?
Very good question. Procrastination for everyone is a real factor. Whether it's coming from adrenal fatigue, whether it's coming from overloaded, so you've got too many watts, not enough hows, or you're absolutely not sure what to do because you've got too many hows, not enough whys. It's a matter of how you contextualize. How you contextualize in your head is probably the easiest way to put it. So one of the big sayings in my house, so both my wife and I have got levels. I'm obviously, as you can tell, the absolute flat out ADHD, is don't put it down, put it away. You look at anyone with ADHD, their house is going to be everywhere because they're operating so fast, they leave one thing to the next. And then you can walk around the house 10 times and have 10 partially done jobs and you go, where the hell do I start? Okay, yeah. The big thing is, there you go, don't put it down, put it away. If it takes less than 5 minutes, do it immediately, right? So procrastination is not so much just the way the head works and overload. It's about going back to that roundabout. You're trying to look at red cars, but all of a sudden you notice a really good looking yellow car and there's a blue car and that's a really nice pink one going through. What happens is you're jumping around so radically in your brain that it causes what is perceived as procrastination. Now, there are days that I go, my head is absolutely flat out. I need you to sit down. Go back to your principles. So things like North Star principle and a process of how to put your daily tasks into arrangement. So look, I can't actually show you with the cameras here at the moment, but I've got not only a studio here, but I've got nearly 20 meters of whiteboard. One board is literally, here's my tasks. I've got it where it goes high, medium, low, and then SAC. The things in the SAC are things that I outsource to everyone else. High priority, medium priority, low priority. Procrastination isn't so much the lack of doing something. It is quite often the overload and the lack of action. As soon as you start to sort that into systems and processes, the action that you'll get is absolutely phenomenal. So look at my tasking today, and this is coming straight off my board. I've got nearly 50 tasks up there that I'll complete. I'd say 90% of those today. A couple of those I'll work into this evening because they are big, big projects. You put the systems, the processes, and understand how your head works, procrastination disappears very quickly. However, the big part of that is self-preservation. ADHD, we don't sleep. Well, if we do sleep, it's not very well. We don't stop. We overthink. As you can probably see by the marks under my eyes, I've been doing late nights because I'm working on US time at the moment as we do merge and acquisition. The big thing is self-preservation of having time for yourself and downtime. Now, it doesn't matter what that downtime looks like. It could be, so an example, every 4 to 5 weeks, I have a compulsory weekend off. If not, ADHD, I work myself into the ground. So what you do is you have compulsory stop points. You have processes and systems allowed to keep on place. These are all tasks, and not so much tasks, but habits that are formed by highly effective people. And these are what's going to make you propel forward to achieving those goals.
Oh, that's brilliant. The one thing I noticed is that my ex-wife is very, she has no ADD, but she recognized it in me and recognized what it was. And she would hand me lists, and those lists made all the difference in the world, because I would say, just as you described almost precisely, you know, I'll do that. I will do that. And I would start it, put it down, something shiny over there would get my attention. I would start that, because there's a lot of things to do. But I never made a whiteboard with the things that needed to be done so that I could actually logically check them off in my brain. I would just.
And how many lists did you have around your house? All these little lists on a table, on a bench, one in the
My
kitchen?
computer looked like a daisy. but it helped.
That's it. And the question just come up there are there anyone with the neurodivergent within my team? And how does that changes how I go as a leader?
Yeah.
That's a very good question to ask, because the biggest thing about understanding how other people work is understanding the human brain and how your brain works. So knowing the difference between conscious, subconscious, what's known as the RAS, which is a reticular activity system that sits in between, like an internal filter of beliefs, values. It's made through 5 basically factors, right down to your meta programming. Understanding how my head works as ADHD was one of the points that I did at the start of my personal development process. What that's allowed me to do as a leader is to lead a lot stronger, a lot more passion, a lot more inspiration to my team around me. Now, some people don't like the way that I lead, because I do challenge people, challenge them to be better, challenge them to understand, challenge them to put things into place, such as lists being left everywhere. When you look at the way that it allows you to become a leader, that understanding means you can contextualize a lot better. So even some of the principles here are things that I use in my training to contextualize to different people and the way each brain works. Now, you look at the habits of your list, you went, it helped. But was it effective, or was it just helping in your mindset to be able to get forward movement, or was it effective in actually getting you to complete the tasks?
And that's a good question. Do you have a lot of people that so the companies that you assist or help build, do you find that, well, actually, let me stand back before I ask that. Is there a kind of a demographic of the type of company that you assist in building, in accelerating, in growing?
Not really.
Like
So
IT or
what I mean by that, sorry, say that last bit again there, sorry.
Is there a demographic, like they're more IT related or financial, or are they kind of right across the board?
Good question.
That's right across the board. The ability with coaching and that I do in that side of it. So as we said in my intro, I've come from a very big background. Merger and acquisition of business is my number one factor at the moment. However, I also have the coaching off the side and the consultation, which is where I help people to benefit what they're doing to advance. So we go through effectively a 3-pillar system. So we look at personal development, leadership development, and business fundamentals. What that allows me to do, the goal around it is to help people. It doesn't matter what industry they come from. It doesn't matter their background. It's all about getting them to understand themselves, to get past those limiting beliefs, and then to put into play business principles. Now, the good thing about a principle is it doesn't matter what industry you go into. You can take something out of one industry and put it into another industry. In one industry where you get it from, it's a standard skill. You put it into the other industry, it can absolutely explode and make the whole difference in the way they operate. So it doesn't matter on the target market, I suppose you'd say, of people that I assist. The actual skill is in the ability to be able to get people to advance through the coaching to assist them to get past those limiting beliefs, rather than being capped by an industry. So looking at the industries I've worked with, manufacturing, very big one. I've worked in, so NDIS, for those of you overseas, that's our government disability service that's run here in Australia. We've got people in sales and marketing. So you look at here in Australia, I've also got guys in UK, Denmark, Sweden. So it doesn't matter what country, what industry, it's all about the ability to be able to coach the people rather than coach the industry.
Oh, that's brilliant. I would love for you to be in our company. We're kind of separate. Like, I'm a worker bee. I'm a program or a developer, a software developer, and I've been in management. I'm not good at management. I don't like to manage people. I need to be able to be given a task and deliver that in code. Now, if you were to come into a company like ours, which might be 400 and some odd people, would you would you do a kind of a lecture style to a large group? Would you work with individual trainers and then they would train others? How would you approach that training?
Good question. There's so many different ways you can contextualize the information. So the way that I do a lot of my consulting work is I have 4 or 5 different factors. So we have a free community group that I run. So it's literally community designed for people to come into to ask these sorts of questions. If I was going into a bigger company, I would start at the top. Cultural change and changes in a company have to go from the top down. Because if you don't change the leadership, you're not going to be able to change the culture below that. When it comes to a big company, it'll highly depend on the way that company is structured and the way that their organizational chart is structured. So I could go in and do anything from keynote speaking to actual training to consulting or to do one-on-one leadership. It depends on the company to what is needed for each dynamic situation. What it does is it means that you're going to get maximum effect, but at the same time, you can train the maximum amount of people for the lowest amount of money. All right, so it's not going to have high costs to try and train 50 people in the actual company, as opposed to you need someone who can lead better. One-on-one coaching or even something like this with a lot of the online makes a big difference.
Oh, that's brilliant.
So very, very, very dynamic in the way it can be done. Depends on the company.
So Daniel,
Yeah.
we've spoken a lot now. We've really honed in on the spirit, as we like to refer to it in the label. And you have quite a clear awareness of the physical embodiment that you are and how you balance that against what you are. So I'd like to ask you this question, because this will serve a lot of people. How do you feel? And how do you create new boundaries for yourself on a day-to-day basis when you now know how important your energy is, whether it's in the past from 24 hours ago, in the ADHD moment of resurrecting the next challenge, or in the future, closing out the mergers? How is this vital to you, and how can you share on this for the people watching today?
Success for every person looks different. And when you look at everyone pushing towards what you like, so Dan Martell's one of the guys that I really do some of my mentoring from. Success is that North Star principle, the thing that sits right out in front that keeps you going forward. It's the thing you keep driving towards. When you're looking at every day for your tasks, for what you do, it's about energy management. It's not about task management, time management. And there's a lot of coaches, it's all about how you manage your time. Well, it's not. It's how you manage your energy. When you start to learn to manage your energy, you can go longer. You can go for a lot more with the way your brain works at 100% operation. So I do my tasks of a morning. If I want to look at creative, and here's an example. My daily routine, I'll give you a bit of an idea, is probably an easy way to look at that. In the morning, I look at my very creative. So 4 a.m. through to about 7 a.m. is me completely pushing past those boundaries and personal development, looking at how I create something and move forward past my limiting beliefs. Then I go from there into the jobs that I really don't want to do. So I don't do emails anymore. I've got someone who does all of that for me. That's one of those things, as I said on my board, the sack. I don't do emails. The only things I see in my emails now are things that either A, they don't know how to deal with, or B, they need further support. Then I go back and train the principal. I don't tell them how to do it. Okay, so effectively looking at that is, if you've got something come through, this is how I'm going to deal with it. Here's the way I'm thinking about this, and this is how next time you will perceive an email of this kind. It means that as time goes on, there's less and less. Now, if you have a look at the tasks in your daily habits, we'll say, how many of those take in energy versus how many of them give you energy?
Yeah.
So when you look at it, it's all about that energy management rather than all the other stuff around it. Does that answer your question, or do I contextualize enough to answer that question?
I love that response.
I love that response, and I'm sure everybody else does. Look, we are moving forward into new times, and we're all aware of this new conduit of energy that we're aligning with, which is our true source of income here in play in every given moment. So you sharing these insights paired against that expansive experience that you have in the physical realm here, playing Daniel Kingston, is very vital, because what I'm seeing is a lot of people are dispositioned with their energy, and whether they have ADHD, whether they're on some other part of the neurospicy spectrum, they just want to come into some sort of space where everything feels like it can be in flow and they're not forcing it to be in flow. So I think the words that you've shared here now in the last half an hour will resound out to those people and will be received kindly. So with that, Daniel, I would just like to pass the mic over to Tylee. Have you got a question in mind you'd like to ask Daniel now?
I've got tons here because I'm getting really excited. Like the whole energy thing really excites me because you've touched on a bunch of valuable things. First of all, organize, know how your brain works, what excites you, and what kind of part of the day are you more creative? We'll attack the more creative tasks during that time. But also thing that you mentioned was the menial things that don't justify your valuable time, you can offload to other people. And that frees up you to do the more interesting things, but also perhaps even reduce your amount of time that you have to do anything, and that's a valuable thing to understand. First of all, understanding your brain. When are you more creative? When are you more in a task-oriented mode? And having these lists of things. So when you were talking about this, I was visualizing, you being my boss, like in that kind of a scenario. And then that kind of dovetails me to this question. How important would you say is a mentor in a business environment?
Absolutely massive. So when you look at mentor coaching, but not only that, but the people you hang around. So in the last question there, one of the things I didn't cover there fully was how do I push my boundaries? One of those is if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. Anyone who's successful will keep telling you that. It's about being able to push your mental boundaries, the boundaries of your acumen or your knowledge in something. And when you're looking at the people you start to then mentor off, you want to be looking at someone who can challenge you, someone who's not going to enable what you're doing, but someone who's going to push you past those boundaries, someone who's going to go further. Now, the coaching industry, and I've had a few people try to have a few words over it, is absolutely full of donkey coaches. You've got everyone these days. You've got 21-year-old life coaches. You've got people that are business coaches that have never owned a successful business. So I've been through multiple seven-figure businesses and I've been through multiple different industries. And one of the biggest things that I've learned, I've been burnt by coaches myself. Some people, there's two of them here in Australia, the very, very big coaches, the results were very poor because they were telling me a lot of telling me what I had to do, not how to do it. Mm-hmm. So when you're looking at mentoring coaching, you can effectively push 15 years of experience down to 12 months. Wholly and solely because someone's walked that road before. Something that in your head you're seeing as a big problem, they go, oh yeah, I solved that years ago. This is what you do. The biggest part is finding the right coach that not only resonates with you, but someone who's going to challenge you. You don't want someone who goes, oh, that sounds like a great idea. Some of my coaching is, that's not what you want to do. Don't do that. Here's why. They explain the principles. They explain everything else. One of the biggest thing with the clients that I work with is I'm a no BS coach. I won't enable something. I will tell them it's not a good idea. Here's why. Here's my experience. A lot of coaches, and there is one sentence a lot of them won't say, which is, I don't know. There are a lot of coaches that they go, I don't know, but I'm going to make something up so I sound good. What that does is it gives you a misconceived perception of what you should be doing. That's where experience of the right mentor, experience of the right coach. When you go and learn things from even YouTube, massive thing. Podcasts like this podcast here are where you're going to find the information to help you get into the right circles. So if you want a couple of good names to look at even YouTube, have a look at Dan Martell, Alex Hormozi, JT Fox, Adam Coffey. These are guys that are already pinnacles in the industry before they became coaches, before they became mentors. So the importance of having a mentor or coach is absolutely massive. They should challenge you, they should push you forward, and they should get you results. Have a look at them and make sure they've also got that experience, that they're walking the walk as much as they're doing the talk. So very, very important part of it. Great question.
Do you find, do you encourage people in the coaching that you do to have a mentor or a mentee?
I highly recommend it. So there are two sides. So if you're looking upstream, downstream, like you just said there, having a mentor is upstream, someone above you that does it. I can tell you, I didn't start making headway in business and personal development till I had a mentor. My first mentor was quite a low-level mentor. However, when I outgrew that mentor, I got referred up to someone bigger. I outgrew them, went to the next one. ADHD, I absorb information like there's no tomorrow. So within 4 years, I'd been through, and I'd literally broken one coach, and I'd been through 3 other coaches because they just could not keep up with my pace. They kept going, slow down. All right. So everyone will try to put you in a box, especially some of the coaching programs. They give you a one thing fits all. What you want to do is get outside that box, throw away the box, take the top off it and see how high you can make the thing go. If the coach is not trying to push you to be 10 times bigger than you want to be, you haven't got the right mentor. So when you look at it, yes, very, very important. My guys need that one above. Now, looking downstream on that is the people below you. If you're going to learn, why are you learning what you're doing? Why are you doing what you do? Why are you trying to push yourself forward? What is the purpose behind it? Is it money? Is it family? If you look at it, everything comes down to 2 things normally: freedom and happiness. They're normally the 2 things right behind it. Okay? Doesn't matter how you look at it. One of the best ways to practice what you preach and practice what you learn is to teach it. You will find the holes in your system the more you teach it. Even today, with my experience, I still find holes in my knowledge, holes in my experience. What do? I go and create something that gives me the experience, or I go and learn something that gives me that knowledge. All right. So you get down to it. Everything downwards is, why do you do it?
I love those 2 things that you said: freedom and happiness. And that's the one thing that I always tell my clients. I do energy work on the side, but I'm a programmer during the day to pay the bills. But I love what I do. And if I didn't love what I do, I couldn't do it. And there's so many people that are in a business that are doing it because they need the money. That's their mindset. I've got to have money. So they'll do whatever it takes to get that, but they're not happy. So how do you get up in the morning and be excited to do what you do? You can't be good or great at what you do if you don't love it. So that's the one thing, I love that you said that, because that's a huge thing for people to recognize. Don't stay in a job or a role that you don't love. If you don't love it,
well, if you look statistically, 86% of people don't like their job. You have a look at that. That is a very big statistic. And that statistic's been around for a few years now. It does vary slightly, but it's around the 80%. The last one I saw was only last year at 86%. If you're not liking where you are, why don't you change? The big thing with it is people are going to hurt because of one or 2 things. They're either going to hurt through discipline or hurt through regret. If you're getting up at 7 o'clock in the morning, crawling off to work, you come home, you go out drinking and partying every Thursday, Friday, Saturday night with your friends, and you wonder why you're not getting anywhere, have a look at it. And like you said, it's not just a matter of getting up in the morning. It's also what you do after hours, what you do.
Yeah.
So an example, drinking. So I was a business owner. I've been through everyone else. I'm ex-prison officer. I've worked in the building industry. Very heavy culture of everyone Friday afternoon, go and have a few drinks. You go surfing of your Saturday, whatever else, Monday back to work. You have a look at my my Thursday and Friday nights right now. I'm up till 2 a.m. every Thursday and Friday night. Thursday night with investors. Friday nights I'm up with my coaching with my coach because he's US based. My weekends. Here we are on a Saturday, and here I am doing podcasts, but this is not the first thing for today. So my Saturday morning, I do have a sleep in because I'm recovering from Thursday, Friday, energy management.
Yeah.
However, I will go right through until 9, 10 o'clock tonight on tasks to do with my forward movement. So an example, I've got 3 businesses to look at for merger and acquisition. I've got 2 training calls. I've got this podcast plus one other like today. When you look at it.
Can I ask, sorry, I don't want to interrupt because you're on a nice roll, but I'm really, really curious about something. This is an aggressive schedule. You wouldn't be doing this if you didn't love it, if it didn't drive you intrinsically, right? What is it though that you do to charge yourself up? I mean, I'm sure this business itself is firing. It fires you up, I'm sure. But do you do in your off time, in your free time, do you do something that charges you up? Do you relax, or do you do something like physical, or what do you do on your off time?
What are your hobbies?
Great question. So physical is highly attached to mental. If you're not challenging your body physically, whether it's like some people go, oh, I can't lose weight, but are you exercising? Are you eating right?
Yeah.
So one of the things that helped me drive forward is think this way. If you were only allowed to drive one car for the rest of your life, you're not allowed to own another car, you're not allowed to drive another car, how well would you look after that car? With your body, it is no different. So my exercise regime that I do, even with injuries, I could have 20 different excuses on why I don't exercise. Yet I've still managed to drop 20-something kilos over the last 2 years and keep it off, which is the big trick behind it. So exercise is definitely one of those. Family time is a big thing as well. So in 3 weeks' time, I've got a newborn bub due. My family time is my recharge time.
Excellent.
Of weekends, if I decide to go and do something, I'm like anyone else. I like to go fishing. I like to go surfing. I like my adrenaline sports.
Yeah.
Okay, at the same time, there are days that I like to just sit down and watch a movie and ignore the world. It depends on who you are and what you've got. However, don't overindulge on the thing. Use it as a reward for what you've achieved.
So that goes back to that balance.
Very, very highly in balance. And depends how much you balance that scale on either side and you're congruent with what you want to become to what you will actually become. If you spend more time relaxing and doing stuff you want and less time working and actually putting things into action, you're going to be incongruent, and that's going to stop you from moving forward. Same time, you've got to balance both of those with the right people surrounding you and the knowledge to be able to achieve both sides of that scale.
I like that. So it doesn't always have to be situational adaptation in real time.
Oh, definitely not. Again, your principles and your end goal is what's going to drive you forward.
We have a question, Daniel. I'd just like to throw that to you while you're on a roll. What advice would you give to those who are constantly chasing money and trends, trying to keep up with that status quo, versus those who stay true to their natural gifts and trust that abundance will flow and that they're in alignment in the right place at the right time?
Great question. And there's a few different ways. I could say some very controversial answers to this one.
Please do.
So here's a question. So Tyler, you do spiritual helping. I'm going to put this into a practical, we'll say practical coaching session for lack of words. So here's a question for you. If you had a small amount of money or a lot of money, if you had a small amount of money, you'd help people a small amount. Okay. So at the moment you said that you're doing your programming on the side, but your true passion is coaching people spiritually.
Correct.
If you had more money, could you help people a lot more?
I think theoretically I could. But
theoretically?
I don't,
so if I gave you
know.
$1 million so you didn't have to work in your data job, you could then go and work full helping more people?
Yeah, I believe I would,
do you want to help people a little or a lot?
I want to help them as much as I can, a lot.
Then become a millionaire and turn around and help them a lot. Money is a tool. Okay, so you're looking at it, and everyone has a bad way of looking at money. Everyone looks at money as being the be-all and end-all. You look at anyone successful in money, money is a tool. If your family's sick, you use the money to help them out, send them off, all right, to get the medical assistance. If you have a tree fall through your house in a storm, money fixes that problem. If you have relationship issues, money fixes that problem, or not always, but it helps you to go and get counseling. If you have a health issue, you go and get your body looked after. People look at money as being a driven goal. It's not the goal. Everything will come back to what your personal goals are of stressing less, having more control of your life, being happier. If you keep looking at money as being the goal, you're going to have a lot of issues with trying to keep your North Star ahead of you. However, if you use it as a tool to achieve what you need to do, definitely you can use that as a goal. When you first start, you're always running from something. As you finish, you'll run towards something. Yes, Mary.
There's one resounding piece of advice you can add to that for all the people out there, and there's a lot, we've all been there ourselves, that are holding on to those impressions and imprints from an earlier age, or the limitations that they've created through their experience of perception, that abide to them that money is the all and soul. How can they shift that perspective in one sentence from money is the be all to energy is the be all, so they can become more clear?
Okay.
That's why you're Daniel Kingston.
One sentence to shift that. If you could get to where you wanted to be with the knowledge you currently have, you'd already be there. Stop putting yourself into a box, take the top off, and learn to break the barriers, because what you are looking for is on the other side of that uncomfort zone.
Profound.
I'd like to also touch on what you were mentioning is about money being the goal, and a lot of people have a kind of a negative connotation about money because they constantly fight for it, and then they embed in their brain, in their energy field, because that's what we deal with, that money has a negative connotation. So it has this negative energy. So that lack, that understanding of lack of monetary, abundance, that sticks with them, and that is what the universe feeds them. Feeds them lack of money. So they constantly fight to get more because they are feeling that they are lacking in it. So I love the way you phrase that, because money is not something that you need to do to it's a side effect of the joy that you bring to the world.
Yep. Beautiful. And there are some things around that. So you've got the law of abundance. Basically, what you give is what you're going to get, and the principles behind all that. If you look at, and some people won't like me for this, but you look at, Trump. You look at Elon Musk. These guys, yeah, they're brutal in business. Doesn't matter where in the world, everyone has their own political, and taking the political aspect out of it, they don't have a law of abundance. They have the law of taking. They will take action to get what they want to do. You go down to someone in mid-range, look at, say, JT Fox, Adam Coffey. These guys are down there, multi-millionaires and billionaires. So Adam Coffey's in the billions now. You have a look what they do. They don't focus on the money. They look at how to spend their time, their energy, and the money for a higher return.
Yeah.
So it's not just a matter of looking and going, oh, it has to be this. Money won't just follow you for nothing, but the actions you take now will determine what you get back. Whether it's actions of helping someone, like an older person across the road, right? People start to see you slightly differently there. Murray's fallen over asleep, by the looks of it. Okay. There is a big thing around that. And again, your limiting beliefs are what are going to hold you back from achieving. People that have that sort of mindset are generally the people that don't have money. Anyone that has money have broken through those barriers. They have personally advanced past those restrictions. And that's where they start to then completely change the way they look at it to do it. Basically, do it. We'll contextualize it as my ADHD. They break through that then to start achieving the goals and the priorities that they're after.
Brilliant.
So attachment is a really big clinker here. People find their way to attachment and really grasp onto these things. And that really does restrict that perspective and our ability to perceive further than where we are to where we want to be. Some very vital words there, Daniel. Tyler, do you have one more question that we can add into the mix before we jump into the last segment of this
try and sort through and find one out of his pile?
I do have one. Limiting beliefs. That's a thing that comes up a lot. And what is it? So one of the things that we all have some level of limiting beliefs. And we don't often know that they're there until they kind of, unfold in our life and we reflect on them. Do you have any advice for your clientele in which to recognize or go in and examine these belief systems that they're holding? Like, do you have a way of translating? Because not everybody is a very touchy-feely person. I don't want to deal with my, the pains and the things that I'm holding back, because that's how they were brought up. Do you have a way of expressing that to them so that they can examine these things?
Yeah, a good question. And self-recognition, not just recognition, but self-awareness is a massive thing. Whether it's in the spiritual world, and people have got different perceived difference of what each one is, where it's spiritually, personally, professionally, doesn't matter where it is, but the boundary will still be the same. So a couple of good indicators on looking at things that you have to address. Number one, if you're trying to sit at a table higher than where you are, right? Get into a room full of smarter people. The big thing is to recognize the feelings that you go into there. So some people, I'm not a touchy-feely person. I'm not that sort of person. However, everyone gets the feeling of something. So an example, if you've got someone who's never been a key speaker or never spoken in front of groups and you put them up on stage, they're going to have the feeling of nervousness. They will feel it in some way. There'll be something in their head, whether it's an audio digital voice that talks to yourself and goes, oh, look, this is really scary. Or it's a feeling. You might feel it in your head or your chest. As soon as you recognize that feeling, you start to realize the boundaries that you're being held by. So if you've got someone comes up, so an example, I had someone in the last couple of days that went, need this to happen. My thing is, oh, no, I've got to control that. I don't quite trust that person. Then I went, well, no, that's not true. And again, I felt that feeling. There's my red flag of something I need to address. I wouldn't have put that person in that position if I didn't trust them. You know what? Do what you need to do. Just let me know when it's done. I now don't have to touch that at all. Now, whether it's in business, spiritual, leadership, it doesn't matter where it is. You need to recognize those red flags or do a bit of an after action review after something. So if you go and have a meeting with someone and you come out and go, well, that didn't go well at all. What went wrong? What was done right? What could I have done better? And how do I stop that reoccurring next time? There is now your roadmap to what you need to address. It could be the way that you read something on them. Could have been a body language that you misinterpreted. It could be a body language that you put out. The biggest thing is feedback. So even after something like this, one of my team will probably reach out and go, is there any feedback? Is there any positive? Was there any negative? What went good, wrong? Same principle of the after action review, because now there's your roadmap of what you need to understand and to adapt.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
I just want to make a quick comment too, something that you unboxed there in that conversation that everybody's familiar with. And it goes hand in hand with everything that we pick up in this human experience. The inner critic, that inner opponent and that inner voice. Let's just talk a little bit about that and how that ties into everything that you've covered here today. How do you keep that voice at bay, given that you're so disciplined, so structured, and well coordinated?
Great question. So you guys are obviously in the spiritual space. The definition, my definition of spirituality is the ability to have inner peace or inner understandings. It doesn't matter. Some people look at spirituality based with religion, two complete different factors in my world. It doesn't matter how you look at it. You have to look at that inner voice and the way you look at. There is not one person that's going to criticize me heavier than I criticize myself. However, it is how you criticize yourself. So again, looking at subconscious and conscious, your subconscious mind's like a small child. It has no humor. It has no right or wrong. Nothing's good. Nothing's bad. It just believes everything is true. So if you're talking to yourself and going, oh, you absolute idiot, you shouldn't have done it that way. Your subconscious right now is going to go, you're an idiot. All right. When you look at those inner voices, I don't stop the inner voices. They are part of my filtered system in my head telling me something's right or wrong. Don't stop them. However, reframe them. Rather than me, and I don't do something and go, oh, you idiot, why'd you do that? I look at something now and go, well, that didn't go to plan. How could I do that better? The reframing is the most powerful thing you can do in your meta programming of your head. If you reprogram what's happening and then allow it to happen, what's going to happen is it can propel your personal development forward quicker than you can even understand. So don't go, oh, no, they tell me I shouldn't, or my head's this or head's that. You go, no, how do I now turn that into a positive, put it forward, make an affirmation, and then move forward from that?
Always fall forward.
Always forward. Fail often, and always fall forward. Will Smith said it, fail forwards.
That's the other thing is the failing. Like a lot of people see failure as a negative thing, and it's not.
Failure is great.
Yeah.
If you're failing and you're failing often, it means you're pushing forward. You're pushing past boundaries. You've just found one way that you can't do it or it won't work. So now you adapt it and you do it again.
Exactly.
If you keep failing, you are moving forward.
Yeah. I love that.
The recognition of this alone is a powerful empowerment for anybody. To have recognition of this can set somebody up for an amazing day or a landslide of a week.
Yeah.
So thank you, Daniel. Thank you.
Yeah.
You are welcome.
Yeah, that's some powerful stuff. And that's just walking in with even just that, walking into a team of people that, like, I can't tell you how much I've failed in the past and seen it as a negative thing, as did those around me. Well, you're an idiot. Look at what you did. Look at that. Look at that. But as you said, I've just figured out 100 different ways not to do what I needed to do. So how actually that's kind of brilliant. I didn't see it that
Less
way.
internal judgment and more observation. Absolutely.
Yeah. Brilliant.
I come from that too. I came from a really strong childhood, Daniel, of continual judgment internally and externally, always broadcasted everywhere I went. So when you pick up the signal, you know, we really do hone in on those signals and they become the makeup of what we are and our characteristics. So I'd really appreciate your advice here today, because there is a lot of people out there trying to break the mold, and they're looking anywhere and everywhere right now, and they're not looking for a 21-year-old life coach. That's for sure.
Oh,
We've
definitely.
outgrown this community that we created in the last 4 years. And with all due right, it was there to serve a purpose. Like every single human being here before us, we all have purpose, and we're all here creating action, thought, and energy in motion. So those people really did serve a purpose, because they've allowed the cracks to fill and reopen for the surface to present the true leadership that's available to us, which is people like yourself. So I'm grateful for them. I'll say that way.
Likewise.
You're welcome. There's a principle Tuesday here called crabs in a bucket. If you throw 5 crabs in a bucket, they're smart enough to know that they'll pile themselves on top of each other to get out of the bucket. However,
Just for the US,
the crab that's sitting at the top, as soon as they can get over the top, the rest of them pull them back in, because they know, and they're smart enough to know that as soon as that crab gets out, the rest of them can't get out. Outgrowing groups is a big thing. I'm probably part of 30 or 40 different groups, and there's some of them there that there's different ways that I weigh up my time and my energy. So I look at an ROI. So when you're looking at a group, right, not just a group, whether it's a task for your ADHD, whether it's something you want to do for the day, weigh things up on an ROI, return on investment. Does it take time or give time? Does it take money or give money? And do I get relational capital or energy? They're the 4 factors that I use in ROI. If it doesn't have yes to one of those, I won't do it. And some of those groups I don't do much in, and a lot of them we've started leaving lately because they are exactly that. You are the smart. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the right room. Sorry, in the wrong room. However, you are the product of the 5 closest people around you. If you're not continuing to try to get into smarter groups, get up there into the groups that are actually adding value to you. However, you've also got to add value. Remember, it's a 2-way street. When you're looking at it, change, move up. If you've outgrown a mentor, move to another mentor, or challenge that mentor of, here's what I feel. It may be a mentor that's not going far enough. It might be a coach. It might be a group that you as a leader might not be providing what the people need. So look at things like the 6 human needs would work in that factor. If you're not giving those people those 6 basic needs, they're not going to have benefit, and you're going to have people leaving your groups. You're going to have the same feeling yourself and leave to other groups. So a very good way of looking at it. Always keep trying to sit at that bigger table.
The ROI process is so powerful. It's just an empowering process to format your mind to understand, even if you're not going to totally embody it. It just gives you the principle or the principality of exercising your energy and understanding that what you give and what you receive have to have some sort of equalness to it, or balance that works in your favor. So just again, the fundamentals, how powerful and precise that is. Daniel, thank you. Tyler, do you have anything else you would like to add in?
I'd like one question that's kind of burning me, and I've got it underlined on my thing here. What 3 things would you say you've learned from the wealthiest business owner clients that you've take as truths? Just 3. I know you've probably embedded them in your daily life and the way, but
there is definitely some big ones.
Yeah.
I mean, I like that question. Great question. It'll look at what I've obviously used to propel myself forward. Okay, so one of them, Mike Tyson. Not everyone you fight is your enemy, and not everyone that helps you is your friend. Okay? You've got to understand that people have their limiting beliefs. People have their alternate motives, everything like that. So you take certain things, and trust is built over time. Trust isn't given. Same with respect. You give respect, you'll get respect. And you asked for 3. Fear has killed more. Yep. So correction. Procrastination has killed more dreams than fear ever will.
Oh, okay. That's
Don't
good.
be scared of it. Just get rid of the fear. But procrastination, not taking action, is going to stop you achieving that goal.
Yeah.
Oh, it's all right. I'm just going to have one more beer. Oh, I'm just going to sit down and watch another 10 minutes of my show. But the fear of what you're actually doing, what are you scared of? Are you scared of achieving something? Are you scared of what people are going to think about you, which is the biggest one normally? Don't look at what other people
That's
think
true.
about you. If they're
That's
criticizing you, you're in the wrong room and you're at the wrong circle. I do not
Absolutely.
know one successful person that criticizes anyone else. They're too busy making money or moving forward to worry about criticizing someone. What they do is they just walk away.
Yeah.
But the fear is what stops most people. When I say most,
Brilliant.
I'd say nearly everyone. I have my own
Yep.
fears that I've got to push past every day.
Yep.
And number 3, if you're not taking notes, you're not remembering. So JT Fox is one of, he's actually my business coach, very high level. He's worth, what's he at the moment? He's about 240 million a year. Very, very successful, very big in what he does. Tells a story about where he went to Necker Island with Sir Richard Branson, and he lost that whole opportunity over not taking notes. He was too busy on let's go do this, let's go do this. At the end of the day, just before they went and started doing all the fun stuff, Richard turned around and said, okay, what did you like about the spider theory? He was too busy worrying about everything else rather than listening to where the true gold was, which was in the information that was there. If you're not taking notes on things, whether it's recording stuff, whether it's taking notes, if you're sitting there going, yep, I'll remember this, you'll never remember it. Right now you can see my background here. So all my books at the top, these are all books that I read here. But down there, they are all my personal notes, along with these ones in the bottom. Each of those folders has a personal note to do with something. That's how much I take. If I need to refer back something my brain does not remember, that's where I go. These 2 sections here.
Daniel, that is hyper impressive. Just
very.
we're not going to find another 10 of you just popping out bookshelves like that, and I just want to be clear about that.
Yeah. By the way, that last one is my biggest downfall. My note taking. I have a really hard time with the brain that I have listening and taking notes. I can only do one. So there's also
you can only do one.
I can only listen to you or take notes.
So here's a question for you. Do you believe that's a limiting belief?
So
let's reframe that. You can do both, but you need to learn how to do it. Trust me, my brain is the worst for it, and it's a way that you write things down. You learn shorthand. When you write it down, you won't necessarily write every word. You'll write particular points or key points from a sentence.
Brilliant.
So there's a limiting belief that you have awareness from that you're going to work on. I'm sure you'll contact me after this to have a bit more of a chat on that.
Finally, please reach out to Daniel after this now.
Oh yeah. No, that's brilliant. I love that. Shorthand is actually
Daniel, I really just want to bring it in now, and I want to wind it down. So I just want to reflect on a couple of things I've learned about you specifically over the last 72 hours as I took a plunge into the world of Daniel Kingston and your legacy that you're preserving here and curating. It's a scary world. Don't you worry. I was overwhelmed. Took 2 days to recover, and here we are. So I'd like to just come forward and ask you how you're feeling about your new release, your new book that you've co-authored. Would you like to tell us and share that with the audience? Because that is
absolutely brilliant. So I've got to meet a lot of very, very good people in there. So most commonly known for Eat That Frog is Brian Tracy. And I had the opportunity, I had 22,000 people that all applied for it. They approached me to come and do it. So it was a opposite to what there is. Now, put it this way, I'll add value back to this circle, guys. If you go through these guys and you want to get a copy of the ebook on that for nothing, I'm happy to give anyone on your circle a copy of that ebook. So
thank you so much.
That book, the chapter I did in that was designed around leadership, mindset, and understanding how to lead better. So basically, with that book, it was a very good experience. Yes, I leverage off it quite well, and I've got a lot of people that are after copies. Every time I print it, it's generally sold out as soon as I've got hard copies. So I printed enough there the other day, and they're gone already. So within 3 weeks. But the ebook, anyone wants a copy, I'm sure they'll put up, there was a code there. That way I know where it's sort of going to. I'm quite happy to throw out a couple of copies there in the ebooks for you.
That's really generous.
Afterwards in the link, and we'll make sure that's readily available to everybody who's ready to click that.
No worries. I do, if you're happy with it, I do have also a free community called the Leadership Circle. So Tyler, I'm sure I'm going to see you there very quickly afterwards. This is a place where it's a centralized discussion point that allows people to come in there with their questions. Also, there's a number of free coachings, there's courses that we're starting to load up. It's only been up and going just on a week now, and we're just starting to get all the stuff loaded. I'll give that link to you, or my team will get the link to you for that as
We
well.
would love that
Beautiful.
to support that uprising. So thank you. We'll get that moving, and good on you on your new foundation there. That will be really prosperous and serve a greater community.
Yeah.
Well done.
Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
I just want one more thing. I just got one more. I really got to get it out because I really can't wait to see you wiggle with this one. Tell us about your favorite song.
My favorite
Yes.
song.
Tell us
I am
about this song that you just
ADHD,
love to
guys.
be
I
stuck
love
in a car
everything. Favorite song. The reason it takes me a little bit, great question. I get asked a few of those quite often, is because ADHD, I don't have any, I've got different genres that I like at a
Yeah.
time. Each day is different. I would say sea shandy that's done a cappella.
Oh.
So if you had to look at a musical, I'd say Surfing with the Aliens by Joe Satriani.
Yes. That's what I'm talking about.
You know the song.
I blew my eardrums
Franki?
out as a kid in my car with that very song and busted out all the speakers. I couldn't play it enough.
I learned it when I watched one of your recent podcasts that you did, Daniel. I saw that gem in there, and when speaking with Tyler this morning, I discovered that you have a wavelength. So I was always going to bring that into existence here and now.
Yeah, that's brilliant.
Yes, very, very good.
Had
It
so much
switches
fun
the
with you.
brain off, no words.
Daniel, we've had so much fun with you. I'm lost for words. Everything that you put down, it's like for shorter terms, it's like a silver platter. It's readily available and anybody can have it. So you'd be crazy not to thrive towards this opportunity.
Oh yeah.
Get the links, get the ebook, get into the community and start growing with all of us amazing conduits. Reserve your energy, be fundamental with your characteristics. Watch the people you're around. 6 degrees of separation is important. You are causing an effect and you are the effect of another cause. So again, expand your awareness, lead with love, be determined, be bold, get out of the box. Daniel, thank you for joining us. Tylee, I've enjoyed being with you once again.
You
Thank you
as
very
well.
much. It has
Thank you
been
so
a
much.
pleasure, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniel.
Absolute
This has been
pleasure.
great.
You're welcome.
Have a great day.